In today's episode of the podcast, I'll be sharing with you some significant progress I have made on my improvised top-down raglan pullover. I have also just recently finished Leigh Bardugo's The Familiar, and I cannot wait to give you some of my thoughts on this book because I definitely have them. I also want to share with you this amazing bookstore that we just discovered in my town and we visited today. I took some video. This place is fantastic. And I also want to share with you a new secret I have for knitting and reading books at the same time. So if that sounds like just your cup of tea, get cozy and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. Thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of the podcast. It's really lovely to be here with you. I have some cozy things to share with you, and it is a much needed change of pace from what's been going on in the Earl household over the last 3 days. We have had a stomach bug in the house with our children that started Thursday evening all the way up until early this morning, and it has wreaked havoc on both my little boys, Angus and Ronan, and it's just... Stomach bugs suck. As a parent, I mean, as the person who's dealing with them, obviously it's horrible. But trying to keep everything in line and everybody comfortable and cleaning up the messes that are likely to happen in situations like this, it's just really hard and frustrating. And I'm not going to go into the graphic details. If anybody has had a stomach bug or has had children who have had stomach bugs, you know what this is like. But it hit my oldest son on Thursday evening, carried over into Friday, most of the day Friday, and then yesterday he was better. But then later on yesterday evening, my youngest started to show signs of a stomach bug, if you know what I mean. And I'm thankful, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that my husband and I haven't picked anything up. We've been very good about cleaning everything off and washing our hands and all of that and taking our vitamins and this. But that's been going on this weekend. And it's been nice to find those little pockets of time in and amongst all of that where I can just sit and work on my knitting and read and decompress. And I find that these moments are definitely moments like that. So I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. I have made some significant progress on my submission for the KT Cal, but that's the only project I have been actively working on. I'm being a monogamous knitter, and that's all I'm working on because it has taken a considerable amount of time to finally get to a place where I know what I'm working on. I have the yarn chosen. I'm not waffling and going back and forth on like what it is I'm trying to knit between a cardigan, between fisherman's rib, or what have you. And you can watch the previous episode of the podcast to kind of get a gist of what I'm talking about. I finally just settled on a classic sweatshirt inspired top-down raglan pullover using yarn that was already in my stash that I had already swatched for, and just being happy with what I have there and the simplicity of that kind of garment. So that's where I'm at with my progress. And I have it on Gladys right now, and I'm going to pull her over so I can show you my status and where I am with this because you guys, I'm really excited about it. Okay, so I'm going to hop up. I'm going to switch spots here with Gladys. Excuse me, Gladys. Let's move the chair out of the way. Okay, so here's Gladys. She is wearing this top-down raglan pullover that I am knitting as part of the KT Cal. So what this is a knit along where we are essentially improvising a top-down raglan pullover using Karen Templer's blog series, How to Improvise a Top-Down Sweater. And that's pretty much it. And it's been definitely a practice in patience and resilience because so many of us, if not everybody that I've seen so far, has started over in some capacity to fix issues. Okay, it's definitely been a learning process. These pullovers, for the most part, are using the staggered start method to create the neckline, which means we cast on a certain number of stitches for the sleeves, the front, and the back, and then we only cast on 2 front stitches. We cast on however many we need to start for our sleeves, and then we cast on our back stitches. And then we begin to increase the stitches in the front until we get the neckline we're after, and that's what gives us that shaping at the shoulders, as opposed to like what you see a lot with short rows. So here's the back of the sweater. So in top-down sweaters, One thing that you will see a lot, it's very common, are short rows being knit in the back to help raise the back or lower the front, and it gives you a little bit of an offset between the front and the back of your collar. That's not what I'm doing here. What we did here is we cast it on, like I said, back stitches, sleeve stitches, and a couple front stitches, and we built out the neck by increasing stitches around this way. So that's kind of the significance of this particular pullover, and kind of part of the reason why we're working through this is because a lot of us wanted to try our hand at that particular method of neck and shoulder shaping. So that's what's happening here. I also, here you can see the really wide raglan seams. There are 2 stitches in each raglan seam, and you can see that with the really wide kind of strip going on here. And that's kind of all that's really significant other than, yeah, I mean, the neckline is just a 1-inch ribbing with an Italian bind off here for a nice rounded edge. This neckline was picked up. So these are picked up stitches, and then the neckline was worked from here. I don't love a picked up neckline. If I had to provide an immediate critique of this particular technique, you have to pick up your neckline. That's kind of just a big part of this technique of building out your neckline here. I don't love a picked up neckline. And one of the main reasons I don't is because, and this is not the case all the time, I'm sure, but you get this little, I wonder if I can get you to see this better. Sorry, Gladys. Do you see this like ridge right here? That happens because you're picking up stitches along this edge. And I don't exactly know how to avoid that. But that's what's happening there, is you have this little ridge because you have a seam underneath there where you picked up your stitches. And I don't love that. And I notice when I look at patterns, I notice that a lot when I see patterns knit this way, is you get that ridge in the back, and it kind of bugs me. So between that and then just the look of this right here, it's not quite as seamless as I would like. It kind of bugs me, and it would be something that would cause me to consider a short row shaped neckline if I'm working a crew neck sweater. So all of that is just my immediate thoughts about this. Otherwise, I'm really enjoying this. I like the way it looks. It's just going to be a simple top-down raglan, kind of sweatshirt inspired in its casual nature, and these like wide raglan seams, and then also the shaping with this. It'll be kind of not super oversized, but somewhat oversized, more comfy than anything. I do plan on shaping out the sleeves, so they'll be a long sleeve and they will be tapered to the wrist, which is different from a few other sweaters I've knit recently where I have not shaped the arms. This one I will definitely be shaping. But yeah, that's this, and I love it. I'm enjoying the process of working on it now. It's flying. I've already separated for sleeves. I've gotten some of the body knit. You can see a little bit of that down here. I'm not sure if I'm going to knit the entire body before going to the sleeves. I think I might start the sleeves before I finish the body. We shall see. But that is it, my improvised top-down raglan. Again, this is not based on a pattern. This is being improvised using that blog series by Karen Templer. Let me get myself back here situated. Okay, now something really special about this is where it is living. You guys, look at this. You see this? What does this remind you of? What does it look like? If you've been around the project bag world for a while, you would be familiar with Karen Templer's, she doesn't have it anymore, but she had a kind of a side portion of her business where she created field bags. Okay, she had a, what was the, it was, oh my goodness, Fringe Supply Company. I'm sorry, Fringe Supply Company. And she sold project bags. Some were called the field bag and others were called the town bag. The field bag was smaller. You've seen me use the field bag before. And the town bag was larger, this size to be precise. And it looked like this. It had really awesome canvas handles with like the grommets, I guess you would call these here. It had the drawstrings and pockets on the inside for, I don't know, all manner of odds and ends that you would want. I have my notebook in there that I'm using for my notes for this particular project and my yarn. I've even put some enamel pins on the front. and I love it. But let me tell you about this. This is not from Fringe Supply Company because they are no longer operating as a business. This is the pattern from Grain Line Studios that you can purchase and sew one of these yourself. And before you get too excited, I did not make this. This was made for me for my birthday by my son's kindergarten teacher. You guys, it's incredible. This woman, I have to tell you, she's a viewer of the podcast, which is really magical. She's been a viewer of the podcast, I have to assume, for at least several months prior to us going to this new school. This is our first year at this new school. It's a whole thing. It's awesome. She sews all of her clothes. She's a knitter, clearly, and she's incredibly talented. This woman is like a Renaissance woman. I can't even tell you, but she made this bag for me and gave it to me on my birthday, and I am so grateful and just floored. How amazing is this? And so it's super fitting that it is holding my top-down improvised raglan pullover that I am knitting following Karen Templer's blog series, Karen Templer being the woman behind the original Fringe Supply Company, Town Bag, and all of that. So that is where that is living. She does not sell bags. This was something that she did as just something. She doesn't sell or have a shop, because if she did, I would totally be telling you about it. But isn't that really special? So that is going to go right here. Can I get it to stay there with Gladys? Can it? I'm going to put it on this side. Here, Gladys, have a town bag. How cute is that? So cute. Okay, I'm going to scoot forward a little bit. Oh, it's a little warm. You know, it's not crazy hot outside. It's really feeding the curls in my hair. But here we are. Okay, you guys. I don't know, what do I do first? Do I tell you about the book I just finished or tell you about this library? I kind of want to show you this library. Okay, not library, sorry, bookstore, pardon. There is a bookstore here in town. I live in Henderson, Nevada, which is a town that is situated just outside or adjacent to Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're familiar with this area, you understand what I mean by adjacent. If you didn't know better, you wouldn't really know you've gone to a different town when you come to Henderson. It's in the valley, the Las Vegas Valley. Okay. In Las Vegas, downtown Las Vegas, there lies a bookstore called the Writer's Block. And today, I had just finished this book by Leigh Bardugo, and I wanted to purchase this other book on my Goodreads list that I've been eyeballing for a while. So I Googled bookstores near me and hoping to find something other than like a Barnes & Noble, and I found some really cool used bookstores that I need to check out. But then I discovered this place called the Writer's Block. Now, apparently this place has been here since 2019, and I just didn't realize it. But that's kind of like discovering a yarn store that's been there for ages after you become an avid knitter. You know, it's like you didn't think to look for it before, but now that you're kind of part of that community, you think to look for it, and you're just like, wow, this has been under my nose this whole time. Now, not that I haven't been a reader before now, but it just wasn't something I was searching out between 2019 and now as much as I was today, I guess you could say. And so I was really excited to find this place. So we went and we checked it out, and this place is just incredibly whimsical and beautiful. And it has coffee and really delicious pastries and just a great aesthetic and vibe. They call it an artificial bird sanctuary because all throughout the bookstore you can see these artificial birds and bird houses. There's packaged marionettes that you can purchase, like hand-carved marionettes hanging from the ceiling. There's an actual real-life bunny that lives there in a bunny hutch. It's just whimsy overload, and I love it. And I'd like to take you on a little walk through this bookstore because I loved it. So here's a quick look at the Writer's Block in downtown Las Vegas. right? How cute is this place? Just so special. And their cafe area, they have tables on the inside where you can sit and read or work on your laptop or whatever. It's very open and mellow. And then they have some nice tables that wrap around the front of the building as well. And I can't wait. I take a few days out of the week to go away to a coffee shop to do work because it gets me out of the house and around people. When you work from home, you really have to make a point of doing that. And so on those days where I go to particular coffee shops that I usually frequent, it always feels really good to get out and do that. So this is going to be one of those places that I go because even though it's a little bit of a drive, being there just feels good. And I'm just really excited to have found a place like that. So yeah, so that is the writer's block. Now, the reason we went was because I had just finished this book and I wanted to pick up another book that was on my Goodreads. And I did. And it's called A Curious Beginning. So this is the book that will be replacing The Familiar as my morning coffee book. So like I mentioned in the last episode, this one was my morning coffee book. This one was my bedtime book, What Angels Fear by C.S. Harris. It's a Sebastian St. Cyr mystery. It's delicious. I love it so much. I'm really excited about that one. But now that The Familiar's finished, I wanted another one. And this one on Goodreads gets really great reviews. I saw the star rating. I think it gets like just under 4 stars, if not 4 stars. And then the reviews kind of sealed it for me. I'm really excited about it. So it's called A Curious Beginning. It says London, 1887. After burying her spinster aunt, orphaned Veronica Speedwell is free to resume her world travels in pursuit of scientific inquiry and the occasional romantic dalliance. As familiar with hunting butterflies as with fending off admirers, Veronica intends to embark upon the journey of a lifetime. But fate has other plans, and Veronica thwarts her own attempted abduction with the help of an enigmatic German baron who offers her sanctuary in the care of his friend Stoker, a reclusive and bad-tempered natural historian. But before the Baron can reveal what he knows of the plot against her, he's found murdered, leaving Veronica and Stoker on the run from an elusive assailant as wary partners in search of the villainous truth. Now, it just sounded really exciting. You read the first chapter of this book, and I dare you not to read the next one. It's fantastic. So I'm excited about that. So that's going to be my new morning coffee book. I'm still reading What Angels Fear as my bedtime book, sometimes my late afternoon book. And then I picked up while I was there this one called What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, new author to me. Let me know if you've read her books before. This is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's Fall of the House of Usher. I am a huge Poe fan. Believe it or not, I don't know why I need to lead with that, but I really love Gothic literature, okay? I do. I love the whole vibe. It's not an outward aesthetic for me, but it is definitely something I really love to take in and consume in the form of literature and film, things like that. But I'm really excited about this because I have read Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe ages ago, and I feel kind of like I need to reread it, but I think I could do that after reading this, and it would be both would be just as enjoyable. I don't think I necessarily need to brush up on it before reading this, but this is a retelling. And it says, there's no real summary on the back, but it says, I'm a friend of the Ushers, I say. The servant nodded gravely at this information. Would you like to come inside? Yes, I said, aware that I was lying. I did not want to go into that tired house, dripping with fungus and architectural eyes. But Madeline had summoned me, and here I was. A gripping and atmospheric reimagining of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher from Hugo, Locus, and Nebula award-winning author T. Kingfisher. And it gets really good reviews. Now this one, because you can only read so many books at one time. And between these two that I'm reading here, and I'm listening to Moby Dick and A Study in Scarlet as audiobooks, the latter of those two being a Sherlock Holmes story, this one, my husband and I thought we could read together, meaning out loud to one another. You know, because sometimes you do things like that and it's sappy and romantic or whatever, but this is kind of creepy. So it might be a fun one to read together. He's reading a Stephen King novel right now. I'll pop it up. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I'll pop it up. But he's crazy about this. He's loving this one. But this would just be one that we could do together on evenings when we don't have anything else going on and we just want to relax and have a glass of wine and read a book together. So that's what this is going to be. Check my Goodreads. I just put a review for Leigh Bardugo's The Familiar up there. And I rated it 3 stars. So if you've been checking Goodreads or if you've seen my updates recently, I whenever I update where I am, I usually leave a little snippet of my thoughts so far. Now, I don't want to go into great deal about my thoughts on this because it would reveal some spoilers. And if you want to know a little bit more, definitely go to Goodreads and you could read my entire review. It's not spoiler heavy. There's just mild suggestive spoilers. So, if you're worried about that kind of thing, just keep that in mind. It is a solid 3-star book for me. I enjoyed it. I felt like I wanted to read it. I looked forward to picking it up and sitting down with it and reading. I really did. The writing is beautiful. I felt like the character development was nicely done. I enjoyed reading about these characters. The main players in the book more so than the kind of side characters. I felt like the main characters in the book were more well-rounded, whereas some of these side characters were more flat. There were a few characters that I feel like she could have gone into more detail on because it would have been interesting, but it's not a deal breaker by any means. My biggest complaint with this, and if you would call it a complaint, more of a criticism, okay, is that I felt like there needed to be more setting development and atmosphere development. I know that it takes place in the late 16th century because I know it's during the defeat or after the defeat of the Spanish Armada and during the Inquisition, so I kind of know the time period. But there's nothing in the book to suggest that to you. It's not like if you didn't know that ahead of time and there weren't things contextually speaking in the book to remind you of that, it could have been written any time. Other than the mention of occasional smelly streets and even when the wardrobe, or not the wardrobe, but when the clothing is described, it's not described in a way that really reminds you of when this clothing was worn. Maybe like the bedpan mentions or the fact that they didn't bathe every day. It was just very few things were obvious. I don't know. And so I felt like when it came to the atmosphere and the environment, in a book that takes place during this time period, you could really elaborate on those things to even further raise the stakes in the plot. Because the environment of that time was treacherous if you weren't a noble person, right? Like if you didn't have any nobility, it was just treacherous living at that time. And so you could almost make that part of one of the characters that raises the stakes of the whole plot line. And so I feel like that's a real big missed opportunity in this book, to be able to really emphasize how hard it would have been to survive in late 16th century Madrid during the Spanish Inquisition if you didn't have the safe haven of nobility to protect you. That would be very important in this book, and that was not fleshed out, in my opinion. So that's all I'm going to say about this. I enjoyed it. It was like, and I even mentioned this in my review, I enjoyed it like I enjoy ice cream. I know ice cream's going to be good. The book has a predictable plot line as it relates to the love story. And when I read it, it was good. I wasn't surprised it was good, and it was fine. It was good. I just think that that's probably my best review of this, is that you will enjoy it. It's gonna keep you flipping the pages. The romance is nice, okay? But it's not going to be the greatest book you ever read. So that's that. So I would love to know your thoughts on that once you've read it and what you think. I'm definitely not going to say don't waste your time. You should definitely read it. It's great. I don't regret reading that one bit. I enjoyed every minute of it. There were just things that I felt like could have been done better that would have made me enjoy it even more. Now, with everything going on in the last week and the fact that I'm actually reading 2 books right now, I managed to read that in 6 days and make significant progress on really what was pretty non-existent a week ago. And that is because I have discovered that your girl can knit and read at the same time. And that's really exciting. A huge game changer. Now, bear in mind, this is mostly stockinette. There's nothing intricate happening here, okay? This would be different if I were working a lace or cable or something like that, right? But this is a very simple knit. So I can knit away on it mindlessly and without having to look. So I don't have to look at my knitting when I knit. And that's a big deal. So if you find that you have to watch your hands while you're knitting, obviously reading and knitting is not gonna work. However, if you are able to knit and watch something on TV at the same time or read subtitles on a movie or show that you're watching, you can definitely knit and read at the same time. And I'm so excited that I'm able to do it because I devoured the last half of The Familiar while working on this, and both things just kind of flew by. It was great. And two things. One thing that made this possible right away was utilizing this clip. I know this seems simple, and probably to some of you this is just like, okay, yeah, great. Well, when you're knitting and reading at the same time, you have to be able to keep your book open. And when you're reading a paperback book like this one, that's really difficult because they tend to want to just close on themselves. I kind of worked the spine over to get it to lay flat, but using this clip to hold the pages down once I kind of got it on my pillow really helped because it just holds the pages down so they're not flopping up on you. So that was the first thing. Then I thought, I need something that is intended for holding a book in front of me, like a book rest pillow or something like that. So I did some digging, didn't take me very long. On my computer, I typed in like book rest pillow and I discovered this. This is called the Book Seat. I got it on Amazon. It is amazing. It's like a beanbag chair for your book. And that's really what it is. You can hear it. You hear it? It's not heavy at all. It probably weighs as much as a big book. It's not heavy. And it sits on your lap. Let's see, yeah, you can see it just sits on your lap like this, and you place your book in the crook of the pillow. So let's go ahead and use a little drawstring. You pull that, you pull the plastic piece down, you set the book in here like this. You see? And then you tighten the drawstring, and this plastic piece that you can see through holds your pages open like this. And then this sits on your lap and you read. And when you want to turn the pages, you just take your finger and you pull this forward, turn the page, and then push it back, and it holds it in place. And that was how I managed to read and knit at the same time and just completely not power through. It didn't require me powering through, but just devoured this book and got a lot of work done on my sweater. So I'm super excited about this. And I feel like it kind of makes me enjoy the idea of sitting down and reading that much more, because I know if I really do want to make some progress on my project, I can do both at the same time, and both are thoroughly enjoyable. And I love that. So yeah, this is my book seat. I'll pop in a little video of me using this so you can kind of see it in action. It has a pocket on the back here for like a cell phone if you want to listen to something. You can pop your cell phone in there. I actually was putting my clip in there, just like that. But yeah, book seat. I'll link to this down below. It comes in a ton of different colors. You can hang it somewhere, I suppose, if you wanted to. How cute is it? Oh my gosh, it's so cute. And it works well with my paperback too. That might be something y'all are curious about. So here's the paperback. Pop it in there. Bada bing, bada boom. I don't even need the clip. How cool. And there she be. So that has been really helping me kind of read and knit at the same time without my book slipping all over the pillow and this and that. So the book seat, loving that. Well, you guys, that is what I have been up to. I am thoroughly enjoying this one project I happen to be working on. I'm really enjoying the books that I'm reading, and I really can't wait to share more about the books I'm reading with you guys. A lot of you commented below the last podcast episode that you really kind of liked that your booktube and knittube videos or world was kind of colliding, which I thought was really cute. I have just recently discovered booktube, by the way, which is... I'm going to say something. I apologize for those of you that love young adult fiction. I have nothing against young adult fiction at all, but I feel like booktube is like inundated with young adult fiction. I don't know. It's just whatever. I really do love being able to share books with you guys. So if you're into that, I'm glad you're into that. Talk to me below about what you're reading. Find me on Goodreads. I share my updates and my reviews over there, and you can check out my more in-depth review of The Familiar and some of the recent ones that I finished. Ordinary Monsters I just recently finished as well. And I reviewed that over there as well, so you can check that out. Don't forget to check out the KT Cal if you are interested in taking part in that. You can find more information about that over on the Patreon. And while you're over there, should you choose to support the work that I'm doing here by becoming a paid patron, it means so much to me. Your support is what keeps this going consistently, and I am immensely grateful. If you took value from today's video or enjoyed yourself at any point, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe and click the bell icon if you would like to see more content. I upload every Wednesday and every Sunday, with an occasional video sprinkled in as well. Until Wednesday's episode of the Midweek Ramble, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye.